Hi, I'm Dr. Gemma, and welcome back to Cognitive, the Knitting Psychology podcast. Cheerfully and somewhat irregularly in business since 2008. Segments today may include what's on my hooks, needles, and spindles, a strategy, something I really like, put a lid on it, oh shoot, and blather. So sit back, put your feet up, pick up your knitting, crocheting, spinning, weaving, or dyeing, or any other yarny thing you're doing, and get ready to enjoy. Well, hello there, it's Dr. Gemma, and this is episode 190. Wow! Where does all this time go? Anyway, this is episode 190 of the new series of the Cognitive Podcast. Hello. I'm recording this on Sunday, July 7th, 2024 at 12:46 p.m. Yay! I've just had the most wonderful 4 days off for July 4th, and it's been marvelous, but we'll get to that in the blather. Yay! All right, meanwhile, let's see what I have to say to you. First of all, your comments are always welcome. Please feel free to comment on the blog at cognitivepodcast.blogspot.com. Don't forget that K before the knit in cognitive. Or you can comment on our group on Ravelry, which is constructively named Cognitive. You may notice a theme here. Okie dokie, let's get into the warm thanks. Sister X, or I don't know if I'm supposed to say Sister 9. That's the classical training in me, but I actually think it's Sister X. She has all the other episodes of the Cognitive Podcast. She's got the beginning ones. I don't think many of you are all that excited about this, but I am, because I wanted to upload them to my own hard drive and save these for whatever posterity there is. So I'm very excited about this. I have renewed my Dropbox account, and I will be transferring them over. Sister X, I can't thank you enough. I sure hope I'm saying that right. This is just the greatest thing for me. I know it's a total ego trip for me, but what a gift. Thank you so much for giving me a chance to complete my own collection of myself. Podcasting for many, many years now. I also wanted to thank our own Jennifer, alias Olive Mavis. Those of you who were at the last CFR are going to recognize her. She was our first official sign-up for this year's CFR. Yay! All right, now, when I say that, I know a lot of you are coming, and I have an idea many of you are coming and who you are. And I started to build the list over on the information thread. I am going to relocate it somewhat. I've got it on the first note, which is all the information. And I don't want to put it there for a number of reasons, so I will relocate it, but it's there right now with everybody who I'm pretty sure I know is coming, which isn't as many of you as I'd like to know are coming. So let me know. But Olive Mavis was our first sign up and sent me her payment. It was PayPal at GemmaDW, as in Gemma Dogwalk, at yahoo.com. She sent me her $30, and I put it on the list with a little star next to it. I am so grateful. I'm really grateful because I looked at it and I started to cry because I really didn't think there was going to be a CFR 10. I really didn't think there would be a CFR 5, to be honest. I was amazed that the original series went to 8 before Time and Tide and a really nasty employer broke it up. Because that's what happened. CFR 9 didn't happen because my employer just threatened me. You may remember when I talked about having the really bad job from Hades. And this was a part of it, where they were just actively threatening me and bullying me over everything I did that they could identify in my private life. So yeah, knitting wasn't cool with them, I don't know. And so anyway, I never thought that CFR, after maybe the first 3, I didn't figure anybody would come back. So you can imagine I was a bit surprised we got to 8. And I was really confused and exhausted by the time CFR 9 was supposed to happen, which I think was like 2017 or 2018. I think maybe 2018. I don't have one of my branded items to look at here that I could tell. But anyway, there were a lot of reasons that the original series had to take a break. The worst being that employer, but there were other good reasons too. There were a lot of things that had built up. And a lot of things have changed since that first CFR. So it was a bit of a shock. Last year, I decided to do it when stitches folded. I decided to do a CFR again because I was really concerned that when stitches folded, we were losing a major yarn event. Now, other people also popped up after I announced CFR 9, CFR 2023, to fill that gap, and I'm really happy. But CFR is back, and is it back in the original format? As close to it as I can get. But I'm not sure. I'm really not quite sure how we're going on because a lot of things have changed. One is our hotel up in Tehachapi was sold. We don't have a good deal up there anymore. And for many of us, including me a year ago, although not so much now, that was too far to travel. But in those days, I couldn't. And it's a long story why. But at any rate, CFR is back. CFRX, that is CFR 10, is back. And right now, what we're working on is paying for the room because we don't get a free banqueting room anymore. In the good old days, if you sold enough hotel rooms, you got a free banqueting room. Well, nobody offers that anymore. So that's a major problem that we now have to pay for that banqueting room. But I'm still happier doing this than roughing it at like a retreat house or a campground or something like that, all of which has been suggested. And I will continue to take suggestions. If you have a better place for us to do this in, a better venue, I am open to your suggestions. At any rate, all of this is to thank our own Olive Mavis for giving me a good cry of gratitude and relief, because I always get really wound up during the sign-ups that nobody's going to come or nobody's going to send us stuff for the goodie bag, all that stuff. Which leads me to say I keep updating the information thread on CFR 10, and the link to it is right under the Warm Thanks department with Olive Mavis's name. And the link is right there. And it's just the information thread on Ravelry. And so where we are right now, and I'm saying this as of July 7th, although the thread says it's as of June 2nd. I should change that date. All right. So we all know that CFR 10 is Saturday, September 28th, 2024. We're doing this to avoid basically I think it's the Jewish High Holy Days are hitting on our normal dates in October. And I want to respect that because I've seen that one disrespected my whole life by various institutions, and I'm just kind of done with that. I'm really just kind of done with that. Okay. Our vendors, we are so happy. We have confirmations from Lisa Souza, Oink Pigments, and Laser Sheep. Folks, our thoughts are with Lisa right now because I think they're evacuating for a fire up there. So everybody, if you want to send the good vibes and the good energy that way, please do. Also, if you're going to pre-order from these people, which I would recommend, if you want to get a sweater's worth, I would pre-order from them. And their links are in the notes on our information thread. You can link right there to all three of them and pre-order anything you want so that they can deliver at the event. Meanwhile, our venue is the same venue as last year. This is the Courtyard by Marriott in Valencia, California, which confusingly has an address in Santa Clarita. If you live in the Santa Clarita Valley, you now understand the confusion we all live with here. Once again, we have the Valencia room, the conference room, which is where our vendors will be. And also, if you look in the information thread, you'll see the phone number for the hotel. And both the information thread on Ravelry and in the show notes where I have a link to the information thread, not once but twice, both of those have the link to get the reservation with the group discount. So you can call them and say you're with our group, or you can just click on that link. They have told us that they reserved, I forget, like 20 rooms, but they will expand that without any hesitation if we have more than 20 people. So if you have a problem with that, contact me. You can get me through my mail on Ravelry, Gemma DW at Ravelry, Gemma Dogwalk at Ravelry. And you can get that over there, okay? But let me know if there's a problem with this, because you should be able to get that discounted rate for quite a while. Now, on to the classes. I haven't put them in any order because I want to make sure I had it right, because I've been wandering through my notes and I find that I did not remember that our own Potchki was offering a Tunisian crochet class. So I contacted her and said, do you still want to do that? In the meantime, we know we have Jasmine coming because she's upgraded, I think, her steeking class. I'm not sure how she could do that, but this is Jasmine. She's nothing if not very, in a good way, perfectionistic and oriented to getting it right. She's bringing her sewing machine. And I know we have Steffi Jo doing the Afterthought Everything socks, which is using socks from sock tubes to make things, which is a really interesting thing to do because several of us have sock machines. I'm not among them, but I do make my socks in tubes. So this is kind of nifty swifty. And then we've got Emily, alias Viva Scrapper, and she wants to talk about crocheting your steek reinforcement. Also, we have Ariane, who is offering an across-the-body bags from Granny Squares class. These are like the ones that Carmen made last year for the whole OC group. And I also, in support of that, I have a template for a liner for those bags. And so I'm going to try to remember to bring that template because that would really help. I just used a pair of fat quarters to make the liner for my bag, which I'll talk about in a minute. But you can make these bags. These are so easy to make. I just finished making one, and I figured out the last thing I needed to know, which was how to do the strap to be really strong. And this is another gift from Carmen. Anyway, all that's going to come up, and I'll try to put all the links where they need to be. You can see the free pattern download is in the notes on the Ravelry thread, the information thread. There's the pattern, and then there's the where to get the purse hardware. And I will also add, I think, the Tunisian stitch to do the strap. There's a short video on that that's really easy to follow. I say this because I followed it and I can't follow videos. Okay, so Ariane's going to do that. If we're lucky, we're going to get Potchki in to do the Tunisian crochet, which would help everybody also do their strap for this purse. Now, about the crossbody bag that Ariane's teaching. Seriously, guys, you can do 4 crochet blocks in granny stitch, like a granny square. You can do them Friday night. Saturday night, you can do the strap, and you can sew it together with us all and have a finished purse. After that, it's just what you want to do with it. Do you want to make a liner? Do you want to close it with a zipper? You don't have to. You can put a liner in it and just go get strong magnets, and probably you can pick those up at Michael's or Joann's, and just put the magnets inside the liner to close it. You don't have to line it. You can still put the magnets on it. I mean, there are a lot of options on this bag. This is a very neat pattern and very, very doable and usable for us. So anyway, that's the big bag project. Now, having said that, let's talk about the extras. And I don't have it in the notes in the Cognitive Fiber Retreat and Ravelry, and I should add it because I've got a bunch of freebies for you. These are kind of the group patterns. One is the granny square pattern that is in the notes. I also had included, since I'm so Wooble happy, now I may be done with Wooble by now, well by then, who knows. But there are 2 free patterns for the Woobles, and I will try to remember to put them in there. You can work on those if you'd like to. And also from last year, we had a pattern for our mini skein that turned out to be very popular, which was the Abbas cowl. And so I'm going to try to get all those patterns in. They are in the show notes. They're just not in the information thread on Ravelry. So I'm going to try to remember to do that. Meanwhile, still talking about the CFR 10. We have a few extras. A few people suggested a mileage contest. The farthest from home gets a special prize. Hey, Gemma, what prize is that? Darned if I know. But I will try to come up with a special prize for the mileage contest because I just think that's kind of cool. I've always wanted to do it secretly, but I just always felt like, oh, I just can't handle one more thing. Well, now I think I can. So I'll figure out something. Meanwhile, we will have in the everybody needs to trade yarn and get rid of their old stuff. We have a few places where we're going to do skeins and trading and whatnot. First, we're going to do mini skein trading. Mini skein usually means skeins involving sock weight. Okay, please try to stick with that for the mini skein trading. That is a separate category from the other things I'm going to say. Why? Because, first of all, a lot of us may be working on those sock yarn cowls. So let's keep that straight. But also, frankly, if I get good enough mini skeins, I make scrap socks out of them as my souvenirs from the CFR. So, hey, do it for my sake. Last year, I said they had to be 25 grams. No, that's ridiculous. Although I got to say, we got quite a haul of samples from Cutiful Yarns when I said that. Oh, la la. But that's not really fair. Just bring your leftovers of your sock and fingering weight. Please don't use lace weight for this. Please, let's keep it to the sock and fingering weight. Okay, meanwhile, we're also going to have a yarn table. That'll be in the convention room with the vendors, the way we did it last year. If you would like to get rid of any of your yarn and you'd like to pick up any yarn, this is the place to do it. Just bring a skein or take a skein. I would ask that you put some kind of label on it so people know at least the weight. You don't have to tell us the maker or anything else. Play fair. If you're getting rid of yarn because you know that it runs or something like that, don't do that. Just throw it out or bathe it in white vinegar or something, but please don't do that. I don't think anybody did that, by the way, but I just want to sort of put a heads up in case we have any new people coming, like, no, don't, let's be kind to each other, right? And you can put anything you want on the yarn table, and you can take anything you want from the yarn table, and you can horse trade with people at the yarn table, whatever you'd like to do. Now, the mini skein trading and the yarn table are two separate things for the reasons I've already said. But the important thing about these would be, if you're going to make one of the cross-body bags, you could do it right here. Just go to the yarn table, pick out your colors, and go for it. Okay? Because this lets you do the completely crazy, random cross-body bag that would be your souvenir from CFR 10. Just like your Abbas cow could be your souvenir from CFR 10. I had so many of those. I think I made 5 of those. After CFR 9, I had a lot of fun with that pattern. It's a great way to use up your sock yarn. Apart from the fact I like to make my Franken socks from them. But after I make the Franken socks, with my stripes of different colors randomly selected, you have these little bits and bobs. They go into the Abbas sock yarn cowl so well, just saying. Meanwhile, by popular demand, we are going to have a new thing this year, and that is the book swap table. Someone said, well, just craft books. Someone else said, why? I looked at that and said, that's a really good point. Why? So any book you want to get rid of. Now, this means at the end of the show, we're going to have a pile of books on this table. Let's hope that Dr. Gemma can fit them in the Prius of Love, because I'll take them and I'll donate them somewhere. But I mean, when you put something down on the book swap table, no matter what it is, be prepared to lose it. And if you are a local, I would ask you at the end of the day, just grab 5 or 10 books and take them and donate them somewhere. Goodwill, any place you think is worth it, your local library, book drop, whatever. But we are going to have the book swap table because I've always said that we are witty and intelligent here at CFR and Cognitive, and this just seems to prove it anyway. Meanwhile, our charity is Mother Bear. So, please, if you bring a completed bear from Mother Bear, make sure you show it to us on the way in because we give raffle tickets at the door because our vendors donate at least one prize for the raffle. So we know we have at least 3 raffle prizes. We will also accept anything you'd like to donate for the raffle. If you have skeins of yarn or something that you think are just a little too good, please make them complete. But if you have anything like that set up, we will raffle it. Why not? Okay, if you bring a completed Mother Bear, and the link for Mother Bear is in the information thread on Ravelry. If you bring a finished one, don't say I'm going to finish it at the retreat. It has to be finished. We will give you an extra raffle ticket for every Mother Bear you bring. Now, you may remember that I'm charging $30 for this, for your entry. This is for adults. Anybody under 18 is free. We got to teach the youngins, you know that. Okay, but I am billing you too much this time. I have my room for free, so you guys don't have to pay for my room. So I'm asking $30 this year because I'm really nervous about making the cost of the conference room, to be honest. That's what's really got me nervous. However, all right, so we have extra money. I'm hoping. If we get 50 people, we're going to have extra money. That means if you bring bears for Mother Bear, we can use the extra to box the bears up and ship them to Mother Bear right after the event. I'll put them in my car and I'll take them to the post office. Now, when you send a bear to Mother Bear, I think you send $3 with it to pay for the cost of shipping to Africa. Okay, if we have extra cash and we have bears, we will send them from CFR. Okay, so remember, we are a not-for-profit here. I don't make money off this thing because I don't feel like getting involved with the tax issues there. I don't want the IRS following me around. So I am happy to account for every nickel we take in. And so, depending on how many people we have, if we have enough extra money, I'm probably just going to cut the price back, to be honest, to 25 or 20. But after that, the first priority, I think, is just cutting the price back $5 to 25. But after that, if we can do that, then we're going to look at saving the extra money to send the bears to Mother Bear direct from CFR. So you don't have to take them home with you if we get enough bears. So please make those bears for Mother Bear. That is the official charity of the Cognitive Podcast and the Cognitive Fiber Retreat. Finally, I will be available to help anybody if they want to get started on woobling. Woobling takes a USG hook, that is a 4.0 millimeter hook, and we got 2 free patterns, and the passwords are kind of universally known for these 2 patterns, so I don't feel bad if I tell you the passwords, so you can sample the excellent videos that the designer has for these, or I'll just help you with them, and a lot of us can help you. We've got a lot of crocheters coming. And next, I mentioned that Mother Bear, I say again in the notes, in the information thread, Mother Bear is our official charity for the Fiber Retreat. So far, I'm saying we will not be mailing the bears for you this year, but I'm hoping we will. Right now, we are at $30 per adult. That's our cost. Anyone under 18 is free. We've got to teach the young ones. If your kids are very young, we ask you just to keep them under control so everybody else can enjoy the retreat, but we've never had a problem with that. And I think it's kind of important to show kids the yarny arts and the yarny crafts, that they can have fun too. This is one of the reasons I want to offer the woobling class, to be honest. All right. So to register, you're going to use PayPal, and you send it to Gemma DW, as in Gemma Dogwalk, at yahoo.com. The payment is due when you register. It is not refundable. You are now able to register right now, starting July 1st. If you've ever attended a CFR, this is your time to register. Please do it. And if you're a new person and you haven't, please register starting August 1st. We have 50 spots. If we do not have 50 people by August 1st, and I don't think we will, at that point, it's a free-for-all. The first 50 people who pay are in. And if you sign up and you don't pay and you don't tell me it's the last minute, you are likely to get replaced. Now that I've said all the threatening, scary stuff, to be honest, we've never had to knock anybody out of a CFR. We've always managed it. I think the most we've ever gotten up to was 56. The goal is to have you come and have fun. In the meantime, I also want you to know that I'm working on the goodie bags. That's always exciting. And I started that yesterday. And so, today the goal is every day I send out 10 requests to Etsy stores. And what I'm doing is just saying, will you send us coupons, business cards, gifts that we can raffle, anything like that. And so I do 10 of those a day. That really stresses me out, and I don't know why. I've been doing it so many times you'd think I'd be used to it. In case you're wondering, I usually have to hit about 70 or 80 people to get about 15 responses. So it does take a certain amount of work. Because I know some of you must think, like, what are you doing all this time in the background? That's one of the things I'm doing. Again, if we get enough response there, we will have the goodie bags, and I will order custom bags, probably from the same printer last year's were from. And we'll try to keep that cost down. Let's see what else. Not much else. In the show notes, you will find the sign-up dates and that information. You will find how to do it, where to send it to. Again, GemmaDW at yahoo.com through PayPal. You will find the hotel notes. You will find the summary of the event. That is, the actual day is Saturday, the 28th. But to be honest, I will be there the 27th. A lot of people come early, and we go out to dinner, and we just hang out together and all that on the Friday. But the official date is Saturday. Then on Sunday, we are done. Saturday night, we are finished. But Sunday, we go to a local brunch place, anybody who wants to, and we just all get together and we talk about how it went, and we plan the next year's, when our next date will be, things we think we could improve or change. Okay. And I have in the show notes, yes, we're adding the craft and all book swap table. That is, any book you want to swap. All right. And on the show notes, you will notice, that is at cognitivepodcast.blogspot.com, I do have the patterns for the free basic granny square. And I also have the patterns for the 2 woobles, the penguin or the chick, and also the good old reliable out of sock yarn cow. It doesn't get easier. If you're going to do any of these projects, the granny squares, I use an eye hook to get a 6-inch square. You're on your own on that one. For woobling, you need a 4.0, a G hook. I never remember what an I is. I want to say it's a 5, but I think that's a J. At any rate, an eye hook for the big granny squares. For woobling, we use a 4.0, a G. The Abba sock yarn cow, I've always used a D as in dog. We are going to be very close to 2 stores that will be able to sell you these things if you forget to bring them. I also tend to bring spare hooks. Hooey, what's on my hooks and needles, you must be wondering at this point. Thank you for your patience. Well, I finished the Wooble Snoopy. I actually think he was a lot of fun. I thought that he was going to be harder than he was because of that nose. Because you do the body and the head, but you don't do that big nose. Then you go back and you make the nose, you stuff it a little bit, and you sew it on. And I thought, oh, that's not going to look good, da-da-da-da. No, it's actually very easy to do, and he looks great. That Snoopy the Wooble is actually a very fundamental pattern, a very basic pattern. He doesn't really take any skills that one of the beginner plus patterns like Felix the Fox would take. It's really not a hard pattern at all. Very iconic looking. I was very satisfied with him. Then from the Woobles book, I did Sam the Sloth. You may notice I could have made his eye patches darker, but I was very pleased with him because my goal there was, in the book, they sew his little paws together and he's holding these sticks with balloons on them. He's a party favor. That's very cute, but not what I wanted. So I got some 7mm extra strong magnets on Amazon. Now I know that if I were to do it over, I would get slightly larger ones, maybe 9mm. I put 2 in each paw and then tried to fiddle around with them after the paws were attached, the arms that is, and the legs were attached to the body. And I fiddled around so that they could find each other through the yarn, which they did. It's a very loose clasp between these magnets. That's why I'm saying I might use bigger magnets next time. If I remember, I'll bring along some of these magnets. Sam the Sloth is in the book. It's a very easy pattern. I have made it into a PDF. So if you want to wooble with Sam, I'd be happy to show you how. He's not hard. He's very much a fundamental beginner wooble. The skills on him, you make the egg body, you make the eye patches and the face mask. These are in the oval pattern that she gives you in the book. Very easy to make. And then the legs. And these are very, very basic parts. There are a lot of woobles made out of these parts. So Sam's kind of a good one to use. The downside of Sam, he actually takes 3 colors because you have to do the eye patches in a slightly darker brown than you do the body. But again, we're going to have this spare yarn table. Okay, so you can see a picture of Sammy there. He's hanging off my light from my computer. And then I did Albus the Phoenix, who I named Fox. She didn't name him Fox because she obviously was worried about violating copyright. And later she released a collaboration with Warner Brothers and Harry Potter, where there is a little fox and he's not nearly as cute as this one. This is basically the chicken done in orange with fancy wings and tail and crest. This one was a lot of fun. It was really interesting. The wings and the tail and the crest are done to look like they have flames. The flames are done just by carefully chaining. If you have the patience to sit down and do this, this was really a fun one. I really, really liked Albus the Phoenix. I named him Fox Albus because, well, frankly, I could. And I quite like him a lot. And then I finished Pina the Pineapple. This has been a very popular pattern because this is a very easy one, except for that crest of leaves. And the leaves aren't hard either. And it's very interesting because lately everybody wants to do Pina. There's been a big run on the fruit patterns. And so again, I did Pina and I got the leaves to stand up with no effort at all. They curl up anyway. It's a very smart pattern and I really liked it. And if you look at the top of the show notes, you will see now that I've made the lemon, the pear, the pineapple, and the strawberry. So of course I stuck them in a fruit bowl in the living room. And now the really good news, that is that I finished my first classic Granny Square crossbody bag. Now, those of you who went to CFR 2023 will remember that Carmen brought a whole bunch of these and gave them to people, including the entire group from the OC, who all walked in wearing them. And everybody was struck by this. These are wonderful. I was gifted one by Carmen because I shamelessly begged, and I love it, and it's my go-to purse now. I take it everywhere because I really love small bags. I don't believe in carrying big bags. I save that for my project bags. So I wanted to learn to make these because I took home Carmen's and said, boy, that's gloriously simple, but Carmen really does it up. I mean, she lines it, she puts a zipper in it, she puts hardware for the bag strap, she does a Tunisian crochet strap. And if you go to her notes or my notes for the same pattern, I just copied hers shamelessly, you can find videos for how to do the lining and how to do the Tunisian crochet strap. And so I was experimenting, you may remember, with granny squares. And I made these sunflower squares, which I didn't make them in sunflower colors, but I just love them. And so I made a bunch of these, and I had them sitting around. They were just learning how to do the square. I had nothing in mind for them. And I realized I had 4, and they weren't going to go with any of my other squares, and so I decided to make that bag, you may remember. And I made the bag very quickly. Making the body of the bag is extremely easy, and it's only 4 squares. Then I decided to line it, and so I worked my way through that. And I realized you can just use fat quarters from Joann's. You don't have to get any special fabric if you don't want to. You can get them almost cut to size. So then I made a template for those, and I still have it on my desk because I will be making more of these. These are fantastic creatures. Now, you can close the lining. You can sew it in by hand. It takes an evening. Very easy to do. Very easy. You can use your sewing machine for most of it. You could probably sew it in with your sewing machine. I hand sewed the lining in, but I did sew it. I sewed the inner lining into a pouch shape with my machine, and I sewed the zipper onto it. Once you have the liner done and sewn into the bag, you can put a zipper on it, or you can just buy a big magnet set, and they sell them at any of the craft stores. You can get them at Amazon. And I don't know the size, but I would imagine it's something like, what do I have next to me? I have a measuring tape. Let's see. I would imagine it's going to be something like 3 centimeters or 30 millimeter magnet. And you can just do that. You can just attach that to the liner, or you can put a zipper in it. Okay, and then you can just sew the strap on, or you can crochet the strap on starting at either end. But Carmen did this neat thing with hardware, and so I did that too. So to do that, I had to get the hardware, and then I had to learn how to crochet onto it, then I had to learn how to do a Tunisian stitch. The upshot is, I love this bag. I love it. You can see a picture of me wearing the finished bag. Once you know how to do it, this is not hard and it's not slow, but it was very slow and hard for me because on every step, I was teaching myself new skills. And so I just love this bag, and this is what inspired me to talk to Carmen about, should we be teaching people how to make these? Carmen gives them away. She just feels that that's a way of giving goodwill into the world, but I just think these are a really cool thing to know how to do. So I finished mine. Meanwhile, you can see the picture. I'm wearing it. I'm very, very happy with it. In progress, the stash toss. We are still at 25 in versus 47 out because I'm using so much acrylic in my current woobling and making various crocheted projects. And these are sold in 1 pound skeins. So that's going to take a while for me to get more of those gone. But nonetheless, I am hoping today, later this afternoon, to finally lay out the Lakeside cardigan, pin the remaining blocks to it because I think I have enough to finish it, and then pin it up so that I can sew the remaining blocks on the front panels. After that, I will lay it out again and pin together the larger seams like the sleeves and the sides to the front and all that. And hopefully that will get it to a place where I can look at whether I want to do finishing such as ribbing on it. I love this cardie. And I've let a lot of things stall while I got into my woobling habit because it's just been hot and I haven't felt like doing big heavy projects in my lap. But this is a great one. If you learn how to do the granny squares from us at CFR 10, this is well within your ken. If you learn how to wooble, this is well within your ken. There's nothing hard about granny squares. The time on this kind of cardigan really goes into the seaming, and frankly, that's not a whole lot of time either. You just turn on a good book on Audible, and you do a long seam each evening, and you're there. This is not a hard project. I have to be honest, I think amigurumi, things like the woobles, are much harder than this. So yeah, if you learn to wooble, you're certainly able to do this. If you learn to do the crossbody bag, you're certainly able to do this. Meanwhile, vestuary, yep, when I get all this stuff out of the way, I get to finish the vest. I'm looking through my old collections of Instagrams and going, oh God, I finished all the other ones in March and it's July and I haven't finished this. Boy. Dizzy Blondes, we are in Tour de Fleece. We send our love to our teammates, Steffi Joe and Jedi Mom and anybody else who is working away on the Tour de Fleece. By the time you hear this, it's probably over, but still. I did not do that this summer because I got caught up in woobling instead of caught up in spinning. But there you go. This leads me to a strategy. And it's a very funny strategy. And this was given to me by one of my juvenile patients. And the one thing I wasn't expecting happened. He dropped a really great strategy on me. And it's a very simple one. And that is, for every summer vacation, he tries to learn a new skill. And that just blew my mind because I thought, can you imagine starting that when you're like 12 or 13? I'm 63. I would have learned 50 new skills by now. I don't know about you. And I was just floored by that. And then I thought about it and I thought, but he's right. This summer I took up Tunisian crochet to make that strap. This summer I learned how to do amigurumi. I learned how to wooble, which is the start. That's not perfect use of amigurumi, but it's good enough. You can make the toys all you want to. And the interesting thing about that is I realized, yes, that pretty much most summers I do some skill. I dedicate them to a certain skill. And I think it's pretty cool to be learning a new skill every summer. So I can look back and remember the summer I taught myself weaving, the summer I taught myself crochet, the summer I taught myself amigurumi this summer. And so this is a really neat thing. Now, it doesn't have to be big, but you can say something like one friend, I believe this is Fickle Knitter in fact, is dedicating herself to learning how to make really good French pastry. I think it's things like that where you just take a class or you get a bunch of good YouTube vids and you sit down and you teach yourself something. I do remember the summer I taught myself candle making. When was it? That actually was a Romule. And you can tell with me, it's usually more Romule that I do this stuff. Like I do a new sweater every Romule. I try to take that time off. And I try to bring up my skills whenever I have a big piece of time. But this kid made me realize I was doing it and made me realize this is a really great strategy, that this can really get you places. For example, okay, with woobling, I've developed a whole new community there of people I'm helping with their woobles and they're helping me and we're all handing each other patterns, to be honest. But we're also giving each other hints and explaining things to each other where the videos don't work. And again, that's what happened when I decided to learn to podcast. First of all, I learned to knit. And knitting made me learn to crochet and made me learn to podcast. And crocheting brought me a bunch of different communities, as did knitting. And then I dropped all of those except the one group that I used to have up in the Antelope Valley. And I began to podcast. And then the podcasting took me into this bigger world and so on and so forth. And that's why I'm so addicted to the fiber arts. They continue to take me down new lanes. If you want to make money off them, you can sell things on Etsy. There's all sorts of things you can develop. So, people talk about, oh, I want to do an Etsy store. I want to do an Etsy store. I want to sell my stuff. Well, what if you spent a summer learning how to go to craft fairs as a vendor or learning how to put your stuff on Etsy? One year, many years ago, probably just after we moved this house, so probably like 2003, 2004, I do remember spending a summer selling all my books over on eBay, when that used to be a thing worth doing, where you could actually make something of a profit. I had hundreds of books from being a college professor that I knew I would never use. And I just started putting them on eBay, and I found all these used book dealers were roaming eBay and buying them. And so I developed this habit. I would charge a base price. Like I'd put a really valuable book that I knew was popular up, and I would charge a full price for it, like $20. And then I would throw in all these other books at $1 per book. And I would fill the box, take it to the post office, weigh it, and find out the cost of sending it. And then I would post it that way. I would say, okay, you're paying, $1 a book except for this one famous book, plus the shipping and handling. And I made a lot of money that way. I'm trying to remember if I added anything extra, like if I charged them an extra $5, but I don't think I did. And my logic was these books were now junk, that all they were doing was taking up space in my much smaller house from the house I had as a professor. And they were just crowding my house and doing nothing for me. So they were nothing but clutter. So any money I made off them was a victory. And I made a lot of money off those first 20 cartons of books, let me tell you. So, again, you can scare yourself by talking about a side hustle and making it sound all difficult. Or you can simply say, here is a skill. I will make saleable stuff. Here is another skill. I will develop a way to sell them with a table at craft fairs. Here is another way. I will develop an Etsy store, and so on. Okay, so each of these can be skills. You don't have to terrorize yourself. If you're frantic about money, just take your time and work on it. Learning to sell on eBay was a skill. I mean, skills aren't simply craft skills, is what I'm saying in a very awkward and clumsy way here. But you should consider learning a new skill at every major break you have. So for me, every year the major break is Romuel. For my student who brought this to mind, he had summer vacation, even though he usually took some summer school classes to get ahead. So if you have a long break, you can learn a new skill. I'm rather pleased because here in this July 4th break, I did. It was 4 days, and that was plenty of time to get myself up and running. And I'll stop doing the blather until I get to the blather. I have been running. I'm on week 5 on 3 different calendars that develop. One develops Couch to 5K, the other are both Couch to 10K. I like them because they all go at different paces. So my long run is one of the Couch to 10Ks. It goes at such a crazy pace that they finally went out of business. So you can't even get this app anymore, but I still use it for my extreme runs. What does this actually mean? Each calendar is several weeks long. Like the Couch to 5 is 8 weeks. I think the Couch to 10, I don't even know, from that same company. And then the one that went out of business, I think, is Couch to 10 in 10 weeks, something like that. Okay. So they divide it into weeks. And each week on each calendar has 3 days. So you can see what I'm doing. Week 1, to do 3 days on 3 calendars, is actually 9 days of running. So I'm just starting week 5 because the heat, we're having very severe heat here. That interrupted me yesterday and today. I had to just bike on my bike desk instead, which is great because it's nice to change muscles and get tired in a whole new way. But I am in week 5, and I am just really pleased because I'm breaking the 2-mile mark pretty routinely. And on the longer calendar, the one that went out of business, I'm actually breaking 3 miles. So that's very nice. The other thing I'm happy about is I'm looking at races. And I was going to race on July 4th. There was a 5K here in the Santa Clarita Valley. And then there was a heat wave, and they weren't going to start it till 8 a.m., which meant it would have been 90. No. So I didn't do that, and I'm pretty happy. But here I am in week 5. And on the long calendar, that now takes me over an hour. And the short calendars are over half an hour, I think, at this point. And I'm able to run every day if the heat isn't prohibitive, which really blows my mind. I don't remember having these kinds of skills in my earlier life, but I run every day. But of course, these are run walks. Even the most extreme one is run 9 minutes, walk a minute, and you do that, I think, 4 times to get up to 36, yes, to get up to 36 minutes of running. So this isn't extreme by any means. But it's covering the distance. It's getting me outside. My first goal was to be out for half an hour. My second goal was to be out routinely for 1.5 miles, then 2 miles. And now I'm looking forward to being out for an hour because it's really cool to just increase this way. What is my ultimate goal? It's not 10K, although I am signed up for a 10K in November, believe it or not. I bit. And I'll talk about that more when we get closer. But that's not my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal is really just to be out exercising for an hour. And if I do it on the bike desk, I'm great with that. But I'd rather do it running because it's just so much more interesting. We'll see if it's still interesting when the weather gets cold and windy. We'll see. In the fluffy books, we have some good news. The links are in the show notes. But there's a new dragon book in the Jane Austen's Dragons series. This one is Dragons at Land's End. The previous book, I think it was Secrets of the Dragon Archives. I didn't particularly enjoy that much. I thought it was a little too tense and the plot wasn't very thick. I think it was more of a linkage book to try to connect where she's going with the series. Well, the new one, Dragons at Land's End, believe me, that's going to meet all your needs. It's really great. It's action-packed. It's exciting and interesting. And I won't give you any spoilers. Also, good news, if you are me and you follow Lindsay Davis's mystery set in ancient Rome, There is a new Flavia Albia coming out on the 23rd of July. Yay! I love these. Lindsay Davis starts with a male character as her lead, and his name is escaping me. But he is the adoptive father of the current heroine of the series, Flavia Albia. That is, he wrote Marcus Didius Falco. That's the original character. The Falco mysteries are hilarious. They're smart. She's trying to do a Sam Spade sort of gumshoe in, I believe it's the 2nd century AD in Rome. And they're just great. They're really, really smart and really great. And you really fall for the characters. It's really about finding out what they're all up to. And if you know any Latin, some of the names are meant to be a joke. They're just a lot of fun. But while Marcus and his insanely wonderful wife, Helena, are in Britain, they adopt a British slave girl. And anyway, she becomes Flavia Albia. And now she's all grown up and having her own mysteries. And they're delightful in a whole different way. I love these characters. So there is a new Flavia Albia coming out on the 23rd. The links are in the show notes for these. Something I really like, Hero's Journal. Yes, you've heard me talk about it before. It's my way of keeping up. It's my cognitive, psychological to-do list type of book. I've recommended these before. I've moved on to the second Hero's Journal. The first one was kind of a Lord of the Rings imitation, and it's very smart. This one is called Magic Academy, and it's not as good. It moves extremely slowly, but it's doing the job. I'm interested every day to get to a new page and see what you, the hero, that's YEU, is up to in the magic school. And there's some familiar characters floating through in the background, but it's still a darned wonderful way to get yourself motivated to do the things you're doing. And that's good, because that has gotten me through my July 4th weekend, and I'll come back to that in a second. Put a lid on it. Well, essentially, I've been spending my time passed out with my head in the refrigerator, but this week I actually have been focusing on cooking without overheating the house. And I've already given you a lot of those recipes. There's not a lot new that I have to say there. Except this weekend, I've been making myself chocolate chaffles. The recipe is in the show notes under Put a Lid on It. This is as easy as it gets. Heat up your little waffle iron. I do not use a mini iron on this. I use a full-size waffle iron on this. And the recipe is going to make you one big waffle without it spilling over the edges. This is very easy. Everything goes into your blender. And then you blend it and pour it into your waffle iron with a lot of scraping. And I like to serve it with either whipped cream on it or melted butter. And I put cream cheese on it, whatever you like. It's a chocolate chaffle. How wrong can you go? Let's get on to the blather. Well, the July 4th holiday happened. Here's how it's going. I had this huge plan because my house was full of junk and I was really miserable. And I kept saying, as soon as I get some time off, or maybe on the weekend. Well, this was the time off and the weekend, and I really dug into it. Because on Thursday, July 4th, I was so wound up from my patients. I was just exhausted. I really landed on my knees emotionally on this 4-day holiday. And a few good things happened. One of them was I expanded my Labor Day holiday to take a whole week off because I really need it, and I have enough time accrued to do it. Meanwhile, on July 4th itself, on Thursday, I was so wound up that I was used to going into Thursdays and working really hard, so I did. But I did all these things I needed to do. So I've been catching up. So I had a huge pile of mending that was growing in my little nook in the bedroom where I have my knitting rocking chair and my hot lamp and all that. And the mending was every day I would try to do 15, 20 minutes, and that actually took care of most of the mending. So I've done things like repaired one of my 30-year-old dresses that still has a lot of life in it. It's corduroy, doing just fine. A drop-waisted dress that's great in the winter. And I mended, let me think, the crocheted squares blanket's own blanket. Some of the edges were fraying, so I mended that. I just went in and sewed up a bunch of things that needed sewing up. Meanwhile, the house looked horrendous. So I decided, since both the dogs are molting, we made an appointment for them. They are getting groomed out this Thursday. but I had to really work on the carpets, which really meant I kept cleaning the Roombas. On July 4th, I cleaned both Roombas 4 times. That's how bad it was. But you know what? It's easier for me to sit in a chair and empty the Roomba and clean up the brushes than it is for me to haul a big heavy vacuum around. And I'm still Roombaing every day and cleaning them every day 4 days later. And then I learned a new skill. I taught myself finally how to do the purse strap for the crossbody bag. And this is a great skill. The video for this, if you go to my Ravelry page, and the link is in the show notes for this episode, you follow the link for that crossbody bag. And at the bottom of my show notes, under the notes, you will see the video very kindly supplied by our own Carmen. And that's where I learned how to make the purse strap. And it's a simple Tunisian crochet stitch. You do not even need a Tunisian hook because it's only 8 stitches long, but it was fantastic. This is a bit time consuming till you get a rhythm to it. So I worked on this a little bit every day for 4 days, and I finished it, well, for 3 days. I finished it last night, Saturday night. And getting the hardware onto it is very, very easy. And then I just looked at the purse I had that Carmen made for me and figured out how she connected the D-ring that this connects to, the hardware connects to. You put the D-ring on the purse body and then the clip part on the handle, on the strap. So that part, putting the clip part on the strap, was taken care of in the video. And I looked at my purse and realized the only way you could possibly connect the D-ring, and it's very easy to do. And then I also spent Friday backing up all my files again. You may remember I was working on that from January to April, where I did the big file cleanup and overhaul and disposal of old files. So I went in July 4th because I want to do this every 6 months. And it's easier to do it at the 6-month mark, that is July, and then the 12-month mark, December. I'm a little off. You can follow me. So I did that. So now I just have to go over to the bank and pick up my other 4T drive, bring it home, and sync them, and then take that back. And I, meanwhile, kept running every day at sunrise. I've been getting up at about 5 a.m., which surprisingly isn't hard. I've been struggling for months to get my sleeping time back from midnight to about 10 p.m. Well, now I'm going to bed at 9 with no effort. And the only issue with this is at the end of my working day, I'm exhausted, because my working day now, it starts at about, well, at 9, I turn everything on and start doing phone calls and any reports and stuff and emails. But I don't see patients till 10, and I usually finish seeing patients at 5 and then do more notes, calls, and emails. Yeah, well, that's now late at night for me, kids, because I go to bed at 9. But I've really, really enjoyed that. And, of course, I really got serious about cleaning up the letter and all the things I send out for a CFR, and started sending 10 of those a day out to Etsy people to work on the goodie bags. And I worked on cleaning my bedroom and putting everything away. And I've been doing various smaller things on Reddit and cleaning up a subscription called Chatbook that turns all my Instagrams into pictures and everything else. It's been amazing how much I have gotten done in these 4 days. It has been simply magnificent. I really haven't gone out very much. We went out to our favorite Mexican place, I think, what night was that? Thursday night on the 4th, before everybody shut down for the fireworks. And it was really, really great. In the weight loss, I finally did it. I'm down 26 pounds. I'm in the 150s. For me, this means my BMI is between 26 and 27, about halfway between. I really am not struggling to lose weight anymore. I'm just actually living my normal life, but because I'm paying attention to my eating on keto, I'm just losing like a pound a week. So that's been very mellow, and it's kind of marvelous that all my clothes fit. So I did a lot of mending over this weekend of clothes that weren't fitting me anyway, and now they do. So I got all these new clothes back, frankly, so that felt good. Project Cookbook, again, I take pictures of recipes on Instagram that people post if they put their recipe in their notes on Instagram. I take a picture of it with my phone, and then I try to transfer one a day to an index card. This means I have really built up a very nice paper recipe card catalog, which is great. And of course, I can always just scan them in as PDFs and back them up as well in my recipes, which I like. So I have online digitized recipes, and I have this card catalog in my kitchen that my son and I use a lot. So this is making me really, really happy. These are simple, easy recipes, and that's why I want to have them on index cards in a wooden recipe box in my kitchen, because I can just reach in really easily instead of hauling a computer into the kitchen and risking it getting something spilled on it. Okay. The pup date, the girls are getting their serious grooming on Thursday the 11th. Boy, are we looking forward to that. Green fingers, well, you may remember I bought a rosemary bush at the end of last summer. That thing is huge. It is sitting out in full sun. It's as happy as can be. The things I planted last year, what we're learning is the Russian sage was the big winner. It came back like gangbusters. The dianthus came back in the early spring, and it's just about hanging on, which is odd because it was very strong in the early spring, but now it's kind of fading. But we're watering. My son is watering every day. Thank him very much. Meanwhile, you may remember our morning glory, Gloria. She was alive and thriving last summer in our kitchen window. She started up again in the spring, and then she croaked. And she croaked all over the place. So I'm now trying to pick all her strands and fronds out of the window blind. So that's a bit sad. We're missing our Gloria, so I have to recycle that pot and put something else in it. But we haven't arrived at anything yet. I'm not gardening much this year because I'm just too busy with too many other things. Underneath that in the blather, you will find our community resources. That is a list of the books I've used for knitting and crocheting patterns. You will also find my favorite resources to buy. This includes the people who sponsored us last year for CFR 23. And these are all these links I'm talking about will take you over to the show notes on our group on Ravelry, the cognitive group. Anyway, so there's all the things you can buy to support your yarny projects. And finally, links to skills and techniques that have helped me. Those links are in there too. You are welcome to add to any of these lists. Just follow the link. On the calendar, you can see our local Santa Clarita groups that get together. And these are all on Facebook, so I don't give you links. You just can find each name on Facebook. And then on my calendar, well, I made it. I made it to July 4th. I'm feeling much better after 4 days off. Labor Day, I am now off through September 9th. I think it's something like August 31st through September 9th. So that's not many weeks away, and then I'm just going to pass out for 10 days, which is great. And I will be off again on September 27th. That is the Friday of CFR 10, which will be at the Courtyard by Marriott in Valencia on Saturday, September 28th. Okay, please sign up if you haven't. And then Rome Yule, December 21st through January 1st, hopefully. And we will see if I get all that time off. Minerva gets the last word. Well, in the show notes, you will see a picture of my long bathroom, the master suite bathroom. You can, if you look really close on the back right corner, you will see the Keurig setup, which we don't use pods for. We just use it to heat hot water. But it's back there because my husband put it back there when I got COVID last December, and it never left. But you will also notice in the very back there is a red circle. That is Minerva. She is sitting as far back in the bathroom as she can get. That is the coolest spot in the house. You notice there's no window on that little stall where the toilet and the shower are. And Minerva's last word is find the best spot in this heat wave and just wait it out. Try not to overdo. Try not to harm yourself and make things worse. Try not to make yourself sick or get a heat stroke. So on the left of that picture, you see a little footstool next to the bathtub, and that's to help Minerva, although she doesn't need it right now, to get up to where her dishes are, her 2 water dishes and her food bowl. And you can see Minerva is lying back there, and straight across from her on the right side behind the wall, you can't see it, is her litter box, and that's the cool shady room. And then she's got her water bowls and her food dish all at hand and a big tile floor she can lie on. Yes, Minerva is in the back corner of the house, and she is waiting out the heat wave without killing herself or overexerting herself, and I would recommend the same to you. I would also recommend that if you come into CFR, please contact me. Let me know on Ravelry that you want to come, and also you can pay at registration, Gemma DW as in dog walk at yahoo.com. All right, having said all that, everybody remember, we are a community. We will reunite on September 28th, those of us who are happy enough to do this and lucky enough. But we are a community. When you take care of the community, you are taking care of yourself. It's not just an individual project, this self-care thing. Having said that, everybody, please stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. So we have come to the end of another episode of Cognitive. Please do not use this podcast to diagnose yourself. If you think you are having a mental health problem, please contact a licensed mental health professional. Show notes for these episodes can be found at cognitivepodcast, all one word, .blogspot.com. Episodes can be found at iTunes under the name Cognitive Podcast, but also can be found posted next to the show notes on the Blogspot page. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.